Welcome to Exploring Santa Cruz, a biweekly program on KSQT and KSQD 89.5, 89.7, and 90.7 FM. I'm your host, Matilda Rand, and my guests are Janis O'Driscoll and Rowan Rammer. The conversation will revolve about the important place of the library in the community, and our focus will be on the rebuilt Aptos Library. Janis O'Driscoll is president of the board of the Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. She worked at SCPL, Santa Cruz Public Libraries, in various positions for 33 years. Her first assignment was as half-time children's librarian at the Aptos branch. Rowan Rammer was born and raised in Santa Cruz and has been working for Santa Cruz Public Libraries as a librarian for nearly 7 years. She sees the library as an empowering institution of equity, access, and opportunity, and she supports the mission and vision to form a connected and inspired community. Welcome, Janis and Rowan.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. What appeals you in the work with the library? You want to start, Rowan?
Sure. I pretty much knew I wanted to be an educator of some form or other from a pretty young age, but when I was hired as a page at 17, and I got to know the backstory of the library and the ins and the outs, it was pretty solidified for me that I wanted to pursue librarianship as my career. And that's really what got me started, and I couldn't be happier. I get to meet with people of all ages, all walks of life, and my day is never boring. It always changes. And I get to learn right alongside the people in my community. And as a lifelong learner, what could be better?
Mm-hmm. Janis, what about you?
For me, it's been an interesting story with public libraries. I grew up in a very small village in northern New York State, and actually children were not allowed in the public library when I was growing up. But my grandfather was the janitor at the public library, and I would be able to walk to the library and meet him and walk home. And when I would show up, the librarian would huff and puff because I was there and let me in because she didn't want a small child standing outside the library. And so I had to come in. It was a Carnegie Library. I came in and sat by the fireplace, and I had to sit in this one chair, always the same chair, and then she would go off and try to find something or other to occupy me until my grandfather was ready to walk home. I think I became a librarian in self-defense, and it was really interesting. I don't know what she would have ever thought if she had known that I became a children's librarian and eventually just stayed a public librarian my whole career.
So you had your own little revenge.
That's what I did.
The best kind is to live well.
Yes, it's great. New library, Aptos. What has been the response to the opening of the new library?
A tsunami wave of people coming in, so joyful and happy to have their library back. Since the closure of Aptos, I've been at Capitola Branch Library, which has been a fun and wonderful new adventure, but we were taking on a lot more patrons who were being diverted from Aptos, and the community really, really felt it. And as soon as Aptos opened, there was this instant pressure release, almost, that the staff noticed, the public noticed, the parking lot noticed. If you've ever been to the Capitola Library, you know that the parking is not ideal. But now that we're open, Capitola now has a couple free spots open all day. So we're always happy to provide more access to more locations. But Aptos has just seen a surge of people from their Aptosians who are happy to be home.
Yeah. Aptos was, for many years, most of the years, the second busiest branch in the system. And even when I was there as a children's librarian in the old building, the public was very supportive, very enthusiastic. They were fun to work with. The families were fun to work with. And for me, being in the new building and seeing families come back and the community back, it seemed like their confidence in us was rewarded with this beautiful, spacious new building. It was kind of nostalgic for me. I was very happy to see so many smiling faces.
Now, I was signed up to go to the grand opening, which was, I believe, on February 4th. And then I got an email not to come because it was canceled due to the weather. Now, what happened that day?
Well, first of all, because the weather was so bad, the county issued a warning for people to stay off the road, which meant the public library could not then hold an event that would encourage people to get on the road. So the event had to be canceled, but the staff and the director and the friends thought, well, we don't know if everybody's going to get the message, so we'll be there. If anybody comes, we'll just let them in. Well, they came, and they came and filled the parking lot and kept it filled from 1 to 5 on that day when we were closed. And amazingly enough, we checked out over 700 books on a day when we were closed.
And you had a skeleton staff?
And a skeleton staff and a few of us friends who just came and helped out wherever we could. And everybody was thrilled. They were wet and happy and thrilled.
I understand that at the end, the power went out?
The power went out about 40 minutes before we closed.
And what did you do?
We stayed open because the new building has so many more windows that even on a gray day, there was enough light to safely be in the building, which was amazing to all of us. Mm-hmm. And so we just stayed open until 5.
And do you have a generator or something that keeps some lights on?
There's solar power, and there's a certain amount of solar power storage, but eventually even that ran out.
Right, of course. But everybody got out safe.
Everybody got out safe, and there was nothing untoward happened during the time we were open.
And since February 4th, people come by the droves?
Yeah, we're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Monday through Thursday, it's 10 to 6. Friday, Saturday, 10 to 5. Stop on by.
Now, Janis, you work with the Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries, and you are, Rowan, a librarian. Can you share a little bit about the relationship between the library itself and the Friends of the Library? Janis, you want to start?
The Friends are the advocacy and fundraising arm for the library. The public library is not allowed on its own to raise money and collect money, so they need an organization like the Friends, which is a 501(c) organization, to be able to run those fundraising campaigns and also to help advocate for better library service in the community, in the state, nationally. Those are the two main functions that the Friends fulfill. And in the case of the Aptos branch, there is a Friends chapter at the Aptos branch, and they raised $597,000 for that new branch.
497. That's
yes.
Amazing.
It's amazing because when Measure S passed in 2016, we knew how much things cost then. But by the time the years went by, the COVID hit, supply chains stopped. There was no way of knowing how much something was going to cost. And the building as it stands right now costs $14 million, which was not necessarily what we anticipated. And so the Friends made a huge difference in making that amount of money.
And I assume you have some plaques in the library thanking the Friends.
We have lots of thank you plaques in the library. Yes, we do.
Upon entry into the library, if you look up to your left, you'll see our fantastic donor wall with some of our highest donors as a thank you.
And so people are back. They're happy. Mm-hmm. And you're thankful for them because it's been, almost 3 years?
Yes, they've been without a library for a very long time. Yeah. And they've been generous with their moral support and honestly with their financial support, which allows us, the Friends, to support the staff.
Let's talk a little bit about the history of the Aptos Library. I have this one sheet here that is on the website, and I think it's kind of interesting. But first I want to ask you, what stands out to you in the history of Aptos Library? Well, Janis, you started at Aptos Library.
I started at Aptos Library Here's what I think about when I think about Aptos and its community. It's an interesting place because right down the street is Cabrillo College.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of Cabrillo students who come and either get resources they need to do their work or just have a place to work and study because school is right down the road. And it's kind of what I was saying before. The families and the businesses were always supportive of the library. Always, and that has not changed. I just enjoy. That was a great place to start in the children's room.
Mm-hmm. And I see here on this history timeline that it took like 42 years before you actually got a permanent library. Before that, people had tried in different locations, and it moved again. And then finally, in 1975, you got the permanent library at the same location where it's now. In the beginning, it says here June 30th, the circulating books was 1,142. You have probably way more than that. I mean, if you had in that one day, you had 700 books. So you've grown in many ways. So you basically outgrew the Aptos Library.
Very much so.
Yeah. Remain the second busiest branch for years and years and years.
And I've been there, and it was small. The traffic flow was very difficult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so in 2021, you needed a larger, more modern, more comfortable, and efficient facility. So, but you got input from the residents. Tell me a little bit about it. What did people do to give their input?
Sure. We had several listening sessions with the build and design team that invited your average citizen to come in and contribute. We also had sessions with staff, and we also had sessions with our Advisory Council of Teens. The Aptos Advisory Council of Teens worked tirelessly to find furniture, to collaborate with local artist Leah DeWitt on the beautiful glass and steel panels that you'll find on the outside patios in children's, teens, and adult sections. The teens asked for certain animals and placements, and they really felt a part of their new building because in the old Aptos Library, they had a wall and one table for their section.
That's right.
It was pitiful.
It was.
And we really wanted to make sure they had a space to call their own, that they had a hand in. And they really felt that and dedicated themselves to it. So we have a lovely teen area now and a private teen study room just for 12 to 18-year-olds to use. It's locked to the adults. And we intend to really make it theirs.
Absolutely.
And the point I wanted to make was I talked a lot about the community because that was always my impression of Aptos. There's so many more gathering spaces now. There's so many more meeting rooms for all ages. The teens have their own room. The children have a beautiful little patio. The adults have many choices of small and large meeting rooms because libraries are gathering places.
Exactly.
The idea of the third space is really coming to the forefront, I think, in a lot of news articles now, and libraries are at the center of that discussion. And we needed this new building to be adaptable to future use. As you said, we had 50 years before we got a new building, and it was time. And this new space is going to be able to be used for 50 plus years and meet so many more needs.
Yes.
Well, listeners, I want to remind you that you're listening to Exploring Santa Cruz on KSQD and KSQT. My name is Matilda Rand, and my guests are Rowan Rammer and Janis O'Driscoll. Our topic of conversation is the new library in Aptos and, as you said, building community through the library. We have mentioned that the number of activities and programs at the library increased. Can you talk a little bit about the wide range of programs you offer, Rowan?
Absolutely. We wanted to hit the ground running with our programming as soon as we opened. So we worked tirelessly, and we bring you Bridge Club every week, along with Mahjong Club, Tai Chi, taught by a local instructor, Margie Bedick, to the love and cheer of all middle schoolers. We'll have Minecraft back. It's been missing for 3 years, and there's been a lot of demand for it. We will have our youth chess club up and running in March. And we bring you our steadfast traditional book discussion groups, as well as a series of local history programming brought to you by the Aptos History Museum and various members of our community to highlight the local history collection that we are now housing.
You have the collection inside.
We have several display cases near the back of the building to highlight a whole timeline of Aptos history. It's really quite remarkable. And we'll be presenting a series of films every month to celebrate science fiction as a rediscovered genre.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you have the teen space.
And of course, we have the teen space.
And they are involved in creating a lot of activities themselves.
They are indeed. They are working with the youth librarian to set up a series of programs.
That's wonderful. Janis, can you tell us a little bit about the program that actually started a couple of years ago at Aptos, the Community Reads program?
Yes, our Community Reads. We're so proud of that. The Aptos Friends chapter began the Community Read program. It started just in Aptos, and the whole idea is to choose a book that everyone reads and then build programming around that book and the themes in that book. This year in particular, it is wild and wonderful, and the friends were able to open a branch and run a highly successful Our Community Reads at the same time. It's still going on. The book is Dave Eggers' book, The Monk of Mocha, and it is essential. Well, if you did a quick summary, you might think that all it was a history of how Yemeni coffee came to the United States, and of course it is that, but it's also a reflection on immigration, and it's a reflection on what it takes to be a success and how determined you have to be. You learn a lot about Yemeni culture, music, art, and that is all reflected in all the activities in Our Community Reads. The exciting thing is that now, along with Aptos, Capitola, Felton, La Selva Beach, and Scotts Valley branches also have programs connected to Our Community Reads. So it really is a community for our entire library service area.
And some of the other branches may have some activities as well?
Some of the other branches will have activities located in them, but they might not necessarily have a Friends chapter.
Right. And where would people find information about Community Reads?
Go to the Aptos Friends website, and you can just Google it just that way, and it will take you right there, and you'll see the calendar, and you'll see what exciting programs are left.
And so I think last year there were like 13 different programs.
Yeah, I think there are 15 or 16 this time.
You expand.
Yeah, every single year we do more and more programming at more and more diverse locations throughout the community, not just at libraries. For instance, last year we hosted an event at Temple Bethel, which was lovely. And this year we have an event at the Rio Sands. And we used the 418 project to host our author talk with Dave Eggers and Mokhtar Al-Kanchali.
So he's going to be there.
He was there.
He FaceTimed from Dubai.
And the time lag was almost negligible. I've had phone calls in the United States with a longer time lag than that was. And he was able to take questions from the audience. It was stunning. It was 6 a.m. for him. It was not 6 a.m. for us.
But he felt so strongly about participating with a community who so eagerly adopted the book and created this whole series of programs. He was so eager to meet us.
Are some of the programs taped that people who obviously missed it can go?
Some are taped, some are not. Often an author or a performer may not give permission to tape. In those cases, those weren't taped. So this interview from Dubai was not taped. But as many as we can, we do record.
Yeah, it's posted to the Santa Cruz Public Library YouTube channel under the playlist Our Community Reads 2024.
Excellent. I interviewed people last year for the book, and it was fascinating. And so if people want to know a little bit more about it, they can go to ksqd.org/exploring-science Santa that cruise and look up Community Reads. They did a fantastic job.
That was a great book too.
And you could hear it in the way they were talking about it.
Yeah. But this book, I'm not a coffee drinker, and I read the book and enjoyed it.
We were really able to collaborate with a lot of the independent coffee shops here in Santa Cruz to donate coffee at our events. And in fact, Verve is giving tours as one of our programs to see their brewing and roasting methods. So big shout out to all of the independent coffee growers, coffee shops.
So we talked about how to get more information about the library and about Community Reads. If people want to contact you, Janice, what is your email address?
It's president@fscpl.org.
And the FSCPL stands for Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Library.
Exactly.
So again, president@fscpl.org.
Right.
And Rowan, your contact information?
Sure. It's Romer, R-A, 2 M's as in Mary, E-R, R at santacruzpl.org.
Okay, Rammer, R-A-M-M-E-R-R at santacruzpl for publiclibrary.org. We have a few moments for some final thoughts. Janice, you want to talk a little bit about Santa Cruz Gives that you participated in?
The Friends raised money for capital projects, as we were talking about with the Aptos branch. We also raised money for programs. And this year, we were selected to participate in Santa Cruz Gives. We raised money for a project called Boundless Minds, which expands library service in our county jail system, all 4 facilities. There has been public library service in all 4 facilities for many years, and now we are able to expand. We're able to be partners with Cabrillo, and its encouragement for people to take classes before they even leave the facilities. We are buying bilingual books, providing bilingual programs. We raised way over $20,000. I think it was $20,737.17 actually.
Actually, and you remembered all that because it's such an impressive amount.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz Gives happens every year.
Every year.
At the end of the year.
From the middle of November to the end of December.
Right. Yeah, you participated. We actually participated also as a KSQD, but you really did a great job. And you have a fantastic project, I must say. Yeah. Anything that you would like to share the last minute or so?
I know that Santa Cruz has such a giving spirit, and if any of you have special talents or time, if you would like to volunteer, I encourage you to reach out to your local Friends chapter. There are so many opportunities for you to help through book sales, programming, our Community Reads, all of those you can be a part of, and we would love to see you.
They also come to your library to help with the day-to-day activities?
If we were to conduct a program, say craft or a lecture or presentation, then you would get to come to the library and work with me.
Right, yeah. And that's great to work with you, of course. I remember in Capitola Library, Community Television did an animation program.
Oh, yeah.
And so we volunteered there.
Keith Gudger, he's terrific.
Keith Gudger, he's terrific. It's really a great place to be. And I want to make sure that people know that you listened to Exploring Santa Cruz with Rowan Rammer and Janice O'Driscoll. We talked about the excitement surrounding the opening of the rebuilt Aptos Library and learned a lot about the work librarians and the Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries do. We also discussed the involvement of the community to make the library a great place to meet for all. And again, if you want to reach Janice, go to president@fscpl.org and Rowan at Rammer, RAMMERR at santacruzpl.org. Thank you for listening and tune in again in 2 weeks from now. Janice and Rowan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.